Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me and along with Mary Jeanne Cullen for our first webinar of 2022, which I think you've received this specifically to hear from Mary Jeanne about Medicare. We are going to record 3 of these during 2022, and we thank Mary Jeanne for sharing her expertise with us. You're welcome to share these videos with family members as well, friends that could be reaching Medicare decisions. We certainly welcome that conversation with them. And Mary Jeanne, I want to thank you for joining me. This is the first recording in my living room. So I have a full office set up here, and I'm glad to invite everybody into the house, and welcome to 2022. Mary Jeanne, thanks again for taking the time to present your important information to everyone. I know that you have a PowerPoint to share with everyone, but if I can just ask you to take a moment, reintroduce yourself and the work that you do.
Thanks, Lou, and it's good to be here this morning. My name is Mary Jeanne Cullen. I'm a Medicare consultant. I help people choose their Medicare plans and their drug plans. I try to get them the most cost-effective and yet also medically effective plans for my clients. Okay. So that's pretty much what I do. And I know Lou always says I'm passionate about Medicare. It's hard to believe someone could feel that way. But I think what I'm more passionate about is helping people to clear away all the debris surrounding it so you can recycle a lot of the materials you get in the mail. So that's it for me.
All right. Okay. Save the planet, one Medicare advertisement at a time. So I know you have PowerPoints to share, so I've given you the option to do so. Mary Jeanne, I am going to sit. I'll ask you a question or two during the conversation for shifting there on my chair, but go right ahead, share your screen, and from there we'll go through the I'll let you go through the presentation. Just stop you if I have a question or two on behalf of clients.
Okay.
And I am going to make some notes if you see me looking away, because as questions come up, I'd like to make sure I ask them.
Okay. You can see everything okay here, Lou?
Just fine. Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, good. All right. And just in case anyone needs my name or phone number, my email address is right here down on the bottom. So what we're going to talk about today, everyone always gets confused about penalties with Medicare, and they panic and they think they have to enroll as soon as they turn 65, and they don't. So we're going to particularly talk about that today. Okay. So this is the agenda. We're going to just go over a baseline what Medicare is, because I always like to start each presentation with that so everyone's clear on the different pieces. And then we're going to talk about when must I enroll in Medicare to avoid penalties. Okay. All right. So Medicare is, of course, medical health insurance for people who are 65 and older, or people who might have, this is sensitive, people who might have disabilities and they're under 65, and people with end-stage renal disease. Now, there's 4 parts of Medicare you're probably familiar with. Part A is your hospitalization. Part B is everything outside the hospital. Doctors, providers, ambulatory centers, x-rays, MRIs, anything done outside of the hospital is part of Part B. Part D, I'm going to skip to for a second, is your prescription plan. It can be either standalone or it can be under the umbrella of the Part C Medicare Advantage plans. They include your original Medicare A and B and your D coverage. So they are under the umbrella of one medical card. The 5th component is what they call supplemental insurance, and these are Medigap plans. The other 4 components are definitely regulated by the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, known as CMS, and they are very tightly regulated. The supplement insurance plans are third-party owned. So while they are regulated by the government in terms of the benefits and what they offer, they are sold by private companies. They cover the costs not covered by Medicare because there's a lot of gaps between deductibles and coinsurance. They have the same benefits no matter who the carrier is. That is what is regulated by Medicare. And the difference is in the underwriting. So therefore, the cost of the plan is dependent on the carrier. And you may choose one based on price only. You may choose on the recommendations of your friends and family. You know, it's up to you. Some people won't choose a certain plan for whatever reason, but it's not important. But you have a lot of choices there.
I do like to say, Mary Jeanne, and I think it's a great chance to interject this, stay away from the water cooler advice. Reach out to me. I'll introduce you to Mary Jeanne. Well worth the price of admission, speaking with Mary Jeanne, but stay away from the water cooler advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where everyone starts to panic.
Correct.
Okay, thanks, Lou. So there's two paths to Medicare. Original Medicare, where you have your Part A and your Part B. And then you pick a drug plan, and then you pick a supplemental plan. And between these components, you have pretty darn good coverage, okay? Then you go to the Medicare Advantage plan. That's the other path, or Part C plans. And they include the A, B, and D. And this is pretty good coverage too. But they're different in that, it's very sensitive. It keeps bouncing. Anyway, I'll stop playing with the mouse. So the difference between them is choice. If you have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, you have to stay within your network, which is regulated by zip code, county, maybe a region. So you use those doctors and those hospitals. They're usually HMOs or PPOs. The PPOs do offer some out-of-network benefits. So if you do choose to go outside the network, that's fine. You will just pay a fairly high price for the convenience of going out of network. The main difference is choice. When you use the first path, original Medicare, over here with the Medicare Gap plan, you can go to any provider who accepts Medicare. As long as Medicare is part of the deal with the doctor, the provider, the hospital, the MRI, whatever it's going to be, then the supplemental plan will cover that gap. So you could go to Sloan Kettering, you can go to MD Anderson in Texas, you can go to the Mayo Clinic, you could have a set of doctors in New Jersey and a set in Florida if you're a snowbird. So you can go anywhere in the United States and use the first path. The second path, you are more limited to the network. Of course, if you have an emergency or something, you certainly can go to a doctor. So now what we're going to get into is, when do you enroll? If you are an active employee and you are turning 65, you do not need to do anything. You will not be penalized for anything. And I want to make that very clear, because sometimes people think, oh, I'm turning 65, I have to join Medicare. You do not. As long as you have coverage as an active employee from your employer, you are fine. Your spouse is fine. Even if your spouse turns 65 before you, your spouse is fine. What Medicare is concerned about is that you have continuous coverage from age 65 on. They want to make sure you are covered by someone. And if you are covered by an active employee when you turn 65, that's all they care about. And there is no penalty. You don't have to join Part A or B, and you just leave it alone until the day you decide to retire and leave active employee coverage.
All right. If I can just ask you to pause there, Mary Jeanne, I do have a question. Yes. We had some good questions come in as part of preparing for this conversation. So if I am an active employee of a company with over 20 employees in the company, and I have reached age 65, I don't have to do anything. I just stay on the company coverage, and until I am done working for that company, no enrollment requirement through Medicare.
Yes, you have reiterated it perfectly.
Okay. And then a follow-up to that is, if I'm age 65 and I continue to work, and my spouse partner is age 65 and they retire, but I continue to work, they can maintain coverage on my employer plan as if they're part of the the coverage, they do not have to apply for Medicare.
No, they do not. As
Okay.
long as there is an active employee with coverage covering either themselves, their family, their spouse, everybody's good under that umbrella.
Okay, and I know we'll get into when do they actually then choose to get Medicare coverage. We'll do that a slide or two from now. A follow-up to that, if, you know what, and no, there's a COBRA slide, so why don't I wait for the COBRA question?
Okay.
Okay, so please, if you would recover just companies under 20 employees turning
Okay.
65. Thank you.
So if you're a company with under 20 employees, it can be financial difficulty for a company that small. So when you do turn 65, if you work for a company with fewer than 20 employees, you will need to join Medicare because Medicare is going to become your primary coverage. The employer plan will be secondary. So if you don't join Medicare and you get a claim for something, the insurance company is going to treat that claim as though you had been covered by Medicare. And whatever Medicare would have covered, you will be responsible to pay that amount. So it's always best to check with HR. Often they don't know, but if they do, it is very important if the company is smaller than 20 employees that you enroll in Medicare and have that be your primary.
Okay. And
Now, I just
always
want to go back.
reiterate there, if there's a question, call Tranquilli. We'll get you in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing is with 20 plus employees, you hear a lot of people join Part A, and that's fine. There's a good side to that and a bad side. Say your company doesn't have very good hospitalization as part of the employer coverage. You could join Part A, no harm, no foul. There's no cost, you know, if you're a regular employee and don't have to pay Part A. And it could potentially cover some expenses that maybe your plan's hospitalization as an active employee does not cover. You know, it would depend how they coordinate. But in that instance, your active employee coverage would be primary, Medicare would be secondary, and there could be some benefit if there were gaps in the hospitalization. The against doing something like that would be if your company offers an HSA, a health savings account. Typically they're in a bank. I'm not talking about a flexible spending account where you can put up to so many thousands of dollars and use them for anything you have to pay for out of pocket. That's different. These are plans offered by the company as part of the health insurance where you open up an account and you put pre-tax dollars in there to pay for services. If you are approaching 65, you can't use those anymore, whether you're active or not. Or if you join Medicare, they're going to look back at least 6 months, and that money could become taxable. So if you don't have an HSA and you want to join Part A, be my guest. If you might have conflict with an HSA, don't join Part A. It's not necessary. Okay? So I'll leave it with that. And again, check with your tax person if you have any question about how an HSA could impact your tax dollars.
No, that's a great heads up. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk about the different kinds when you enroll. Initial open enrollment, that happens when you're turning 65. You can sign up for Medicare through Social Security, ssa.gov. And you sign up the first 3 months before you turn 65, the month you turn 65, and the 3 months after you turn 65. I don't know why you would wait, you know, because you do want your coverage to start when whatever active employee coverage you have ends. So, you know, I would make sure if you're going to retire on June 1st or you're going to turn 65 on June 1st, you go back May, April, March. In March, you go to SSA, you enroll in Medicare, and then you'll have your card in time. So whether you decide to get a Medicare Advantage plan or a supplemental plan and a drug plan, you'll have plenty of time because you'll have your Medicare number, which you need to enroll in those plans. And that's great. So if the initial enrollment passes, you may incur higher premiums, and we'll talk about those penalties. Okay. The next period of enrollment is annual enrollment. This is the time of year, October 15th to December 7th, every year. You can change the plans you already have, whether they're Medicare Advantage or drug plan. This is the time when you can change them. You cannot change them during the year because they are closely monitored by Medicare, and this is the only time you can change. Okay? The supplemental plans are not within this window here. You could change a supplemental plan if you didn't like the carrier you had and you want to go to a different carrier, or you want to go from an F plan to an N plan. You can do that any time of the year. Different animal.
Yeah. I think that's understated enough that you do have the ability to change elements of your Medicare coverage at any time. It isn't only an open enrollment, but of course the annual enrollment is for the main part, if you will, of Medicare.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now we have general enrollment. Say you were in Alaska for 5 years, not even Alaska, the North Pole, right, and you never enrolled in Medicare because you were gone for 5 years doing research. You come back home and you go, oh, geez, I think I better enroll in Medicare. So you can sign up between January 1st and March 31st each year. Your coverage won't start till July 1st. This is signing up for Medicare Part B. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Medicare Part B, you can sign up between January 1st and March 31st each year, but your coverage will not start until July. And depending how many 12-month periods happen when you could have signed up but didn't, that is how you are going to accrue a penalty. And we will talk about that.
Okay, so in your example of being in Alaska being at the North Pole for 5 years, maybe ice fishing.
Yes.
You would pay 5 years worth of, or 5 penalties based on premium moving forward. Is that correct?
Yes, you would pay 10% for each 12 month you didn't enroll when you could have enrolled. So okay, if you were gone for 5 years, you would have to tack an extra 50% onto the cost of your Medicare Part B.
Okay.
And it's not just Medicare Part B when you join. If Medicare Part B goes up, it's 50% on top of whatever it goes up to. So that's a penalty, which you're going to see for the rest of your Medicare life.
Significant.
Then we have special enrollment. These are special circumstances. Say you move from one geographic area to another, or you're retiring. And you might be 67, 68 years old. You're not quite at age 65. First of all, whoops, oh my gosh, this really flips around. I'm going to stop touching the mouse. Okay. When you turn 65, even if you are on employer coverage, say it's terrible coverage, maybe it's catastrophic coverage, it's not that great. And I don't know how much you're paying for it, but it certainly would be worth doing a comparison. You can leave that coverage at any time and join Medicare and get a supplemental plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. It's up to you. But you can do that anytime you're covered by the group plan. You don't have to do it during annual enrollment. You don't have to do it at a certain time of the year. You could just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm tired of this crummy coverage and I want to get Medicare, and you can do it. Okay. You may enroll during the 8-month period that begins the month after employment or coverage ends, whichever happens first. So say you are going to retire on June 1st. You really have 8 months to join Part B. But why would you wait? You know, you want your coverage to start as soon as you lose the employer coverage. I never quite understood that, but sometimes people get confused. So they give them a buffer period of 8 months to join Part B. Okay, after that, that's when the clock starts ticking for penalties. So every 12 months, you didn't join Part B when you could have, say June 1st, you go to May 31st, 10%. You stay out another 12 months at the North Pole, 20%. And that's how the clock ticks for medical Part B premiums. So I'll just leave it at that. And then the other special enrollment is to say that COBRA and retiree coverage does not count as active employment. So if you retire or say you are laid off and your company is going to give you COBRA for 18 months or 10 months, whatever, 18 months is the legal limit for COBRA. Unless it's a divorce, then it's 3 years. But say it's a normal, we had to lay off people, we're going to give you COBRA for 18 months. If you turn 65 during that period, you know, you can join Medicare, which is probably much less expensive than paying for COBRA if you're paying for it yourself. If the company's paying for it, still, you got 8 months to join Medicare Part B. Okay. So you need to, that's a special circumstance you really need to talk to someone about. Don't try to go that alone.
And again, I would recommend anyone who is in that situation to reach out. We'll certainly introduce you to Mary Jeanne and give you some advice there that is specific to your situation. So Mary Jeanne, with that question that came in, someone is approaching age 65, is presently on COBRA. Their spouse, who is a few years from age 65, not on COBRA. When the COBRA covered person in this couple reaches age 65, they now should apply for Medicare. What happens to the spouse who is a few years away from Medicare coverage?
That could be up to the company. They would need to go back to the company and say, may my wife remain on COBRA? I'm turning 65 and I'm going to go on Medicare. May she, and sometimes children, may they remain on COBRA? And that's kind of up to the company. So I would refer them back to HR for the company they left.
Okay. All right. And that would be making the assumption that HR would even know.
That is a big assumption.
That is a big assumption. That's right. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yes. So sometimes the company that administers the COBRA, often they are third-party companies. You could also call them and see if they have any advice to offer. Okay. All right. Penalties. This is just a description of the penalties that I said to you before.
Okay.
So your date of birth is June 12th. Your start date is June 1st. The last date to enroll is September 30th, and you miss that date. Now you can go till January of the next year and enroll, between January and March. And then your coverage would start in July.
Okay.
But you still would have accrued a whole year.
Right.
So you're going to pay 10% on top of your Medicare Part B.
Okay.
Okay. And it's 10% for each year. Now, if you didn't join a drug plan when you should have, that penalty starts clicking every month after you should have joined. So it may be pennies because it's 0.01% of the average price of a plan. So it's around $30 times every month you didn't enroll.
Yeah.
So just
the question of why wait, right?
Why wait? Why make yourself miserable and have to pay penalties? Okay. And then that's pretty much it. These are some resources. Medicare.gov is pretty, they have a lot of information. And I would recommend that if you have an account there, that's great. If you don't have an account, create one because you can see all your information in there. They show you the drugs you're taking, the plans you're in, your explanation of benefits. All that information is there for you. And you just need, like I use an email address and a password. And once I get in, they may want to know my Medicare Part A number. And then they get you in. The one thing I want to say, I talked a lot about, the penalty for not joining Part B. I didn't talk about Part A a lot because you can join that at any time. It doesn't matter because you don't pay for it. No harm, no foul.
Right.
But what we're really talking about, the penalty is for Part B if you don't enroll when you should have or could have.
Understood. And it's a costly penalty, not worth paying. So with that, a reminder to everyone that's listening, this is meeting number 1 with Mary Jeanne for 2022. We're going to host 3 of these meetings. I don't know that I'll do all of them from my living room, but I'll be back at the office for at least one of them. And that was just due to office internet issues today. So I do thank everyone for listening. Mary Jeanne, I thank you again. We will include the presentation slides in our email along with this video. We thank Mary Jeanne for being willing to share those with all of us. It's important information. Like Mary Jeanne mentioned earlier, I'm in awe of her passion for the subject and appreciative of her expertise of it. So I certainly have to add the disclosure, Mary Jeanne, which is Tranquilli Financial Advisor is not offering any specific advice. The opinions and thoughts are yours, and we are not responsible for their accuracy or inaccuracy, and you're allowed to change your mind at any point about all of these things. So with that compliance part of things out of the way, I have had the pleasure of working with Mary Jeanne and clients for several years now. So if you do have additional questions, please reach me. We will make sure to introduce you to Mary Jeanne. And again, I thank you for taking the time to talk with all of us.
You're very welcome.
All right. You're the best. I will speak to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.